right, so this week we have two questions and they are both about sex. So let's get started. Do you agree that there is a notion that gays must go through a promiscuous phase before settling down? And if so, what do you feel is the best way to navigate through that? So yes, I agree that it is part of our collective folklore and way that we view ourselves that folks need to go through a slut phase as part of their development. And can that be a really fun, really great part of people's lives? Absolutely. Does it need to be part of all of our development? No, it doesn't. So what we want to look at is what works for you personally. What is in line with your values? How do you want to be in the world, and how do you want to move through the world? And if you make that decision, if expressing yourself sexually in that way is something that you want to do, then move through that in a way that's in line with your values and how you want to be in the world. And if it's not, then move through that in the same way. We can not judge other people for what they choose, whether they choose to do that or choose not to do that. And that makes our community deeper and richer, and we support one another, rather than painting the community with this broad brush that all men or all gay men need to go through this as a development, or judging people who haven't. Then let's look at our own personal experiences, get in touch with what really works for us, and then move from that point. So the next question is, what are the pros and cons of using hookup apps? So I think things to be mindful in using hookup apps are how we relate to other people. One way is, how do we describe our preferences? Something that pops up for me is folks who use terminology that's not affirming to other people, like describing your own HIV status as clean. Which then infers that people who have HIV are dirty. So we want to be mindful of the language that we use and make sure that that's in line with how we talk to people in person, how we would talk to someone face to face if we saw them, so that we are empowering other people and we are affirming other people rather than pulling other people down. I think another thing to be mindful of is, what is our intention when we're on there? Are we trying to move away from loneliness? We want to be mindful of, are we on there seeking validation? We want to be mindful of using it to numb or get away from other feelings, whether that's boredom or loneliness or whatever. We want to be mindful of using apps for those purposes, because then it doesn't feel good and it doesn't move our lives in the direction that we want. We want to be mindful of how much space and time they're taking up. I mean, I think, they can grow to take up more time than we intend for them to. And so we just want to keep an eye on that as well. So we want to check in with our full body and our intentions. Are we using apps in a way that feels good for us and in a way that moves our lives in the direction that we want? And if that's a yes, then go for it and keep doing that and keep using apps in that way. I think that apps can be really valuable in that it gives people who are more introverted the chance to meet people in a way that feels safe for them. I think people meet their partners, spouses, and friends on these apps. And I think it provides a way of connecting sexually without some of the side effects that we've had historically, whether that be back in the day, like cruising and, being at the risk of getting arrested, or for folks who don't want to be in a bar environment or drink heavily to meet other people, then it provides a means for that. So it can be really healthy. We just want to keep an eye on how we're using them, what our intentions are, and move from that space. So thanks for watching this week. If you have questions that you would like answered, you can drop those in the comments below, or you can visit us on Facebook and Instagram and send us a direct message there. See you next week.